You mentioned the master plan. Are you already starting to implement some of the proposals that have been identified in the plan?
So the proposals in the plan, some of them actually have passed as part of the budget. So one of the recommendations, for example, was to lift the amount of money that a victim can recover from the Office of Victim Services from $100 up to $250 for a max of, or $2,500 for a max of $30,000. That was passed in the budget this year with all of your support. There's other proposals in there, such as like interagency councils, things of that nature. I think that those are all things that we're looking to see, not only from my agency, but this requires multiple agencies, where we can find low-hanging fruit to just do things administratively, which is preferable. I think the continuation of the MPA coalition and the state agency stakeholder group can also serve a purpose for better coordinating those services.
Do you believe it would be responsible to empower bank tellers who have been properly trained to identify financial exploitation of the elderly and to be able to place holds on those transactions that they believe arise out of such action? I know New York State doesn't have that law in place, but it is being effectively used in other states around the country. Do you support empowering bank tellers to have that authority?
So there's two questions that you asked. I think in terms of the role of regulated financial institutions in New York State, the more the merrier. There are a lot of banks that are already doing this. There are a lot of banks that have hired a full-time person just on fraud prevention, but it's not universal. So I think the more banks can, without feeling like they're doing something against their own policies, sharing personal information, things of that nature, I think they absolutely have an expanded role to play. On the freezing of funding, we know what the pros and cons of that are. So there's been a variety of proposals to try to limit the amount of time on a frozen account so that people can pay their prescriptions and pay their rent, et cetera. So I leave that up to hopefully a negotiated settlement that can meet the pros and the cons.
What single piece of legislation do you think would be most important for the aging community to be passed in our upcoming legislative session?
Well, I think the thing for me really goes back to what Assemblyman Hevesy said, is we need a coordinated outreach and education campaign that, again, is in front of people's faces all the time, because we're bombarded constantly with news from all different areas. This is an issue. People know it's an issue. They're reluctant to come forward. Scammers are quite sophisticated, but still stopping scams and fraud is not that difficult, and that's the things that we need to get out. So I would say the number one thing would be a coordinated, not a nice sofa, OCFS, and everybody, regardless of whether you're a community-based provider or any other state, local, municipal agency, not-for-profit, outreach and education has to go through the roof, and it has to be ongoing.
I know in my district we had a older woman come in and was completely wiped out of her savings. So I couldn't agree with you more that we need more preparation, prevention, and education around the subject.